everybody. Welcome to another episode of Into the Foxhole. I'm your host, Jeff Fox, and we are now at episode number 2. Thanks, honey. Well, I kind of want to jump right into it. And I am sort of flying solo for this one, but I'm going to have my brother, one of the funniest guys I know, chime in later, give some opinion on this. Let's get right into it. So today I'm doing an episode on people on social media, particularly Twitter, but also YouTube, who share the conspiracy theory that the coronavirus is a made-up government-sponsored hoax that I guess is designed to crash the economy so the Freemason Illuminati elite club can put us all under thumb. I don't really know, to the extent of what the conspiracy is, but I just want to point out how dangerous it is to put conspiracy theory videos or posts out right now in the midst of a pandemic that has already infected 347,000 Americans and killed over 10,000. Think about that. These people keep claiming that it's a government-sponsored act or a show, and also all mainstream media. So this basically means any media that we could find even the slightest little bit of credibility in is part of the mainstream media, which can't be trusted because it's government-controlled, and that they are, in fact, embellishing the numbers and trying to create hysteria in all the people. What's interesting about a lot of this, too, though, is that I don't think I've heard any part of the theory as to why it's affecting so many other countries all around the world. Most people that are sharing this kind of stuff, they seem to be slightly local, as they say, and just in the United States. So what's happening right now is there's this trending hashtag that's hashtag record your hospital, I believe is what it is. I should have written it down, but I just really don't give a fuck. So people are using their phones to film scenes at local hospitals, and some even in other countries. One such video was someone filming the Navy ship that was parked off the coast of San Francisco. And that was really interesting because I'm watching this video, and whoever's filming it, for a while, they just point their camera down at the calm water, and then they show the ship, and the whole time I'm thinking, what the hell am I looking for? I mean, they're standing 500 feet away from this ship, so I don't even know if there were people walking around on this Navy ship, what the hell they thought they were going to find or see. But anyways, another video I saw was what looked like a basement or a room that wasn't regularly utilized in a hospital in Germany. The guy was showing that there were only a few beds in the room and no people. Yet that morning, I had read an article about how well Germany mitigated the situation. As CNN reported, Germany started testing widely, early, and discovered many mild cases, preventing missing people who were carriers who could shed the disease to others. As was also reported, their hospitals are, quote-unquote, not yet overwhelmed. But again, I don't really give a shit where that guy in the German hospital was. The point is, we have got to stop believing what one guy with a cell phone tells us is a conspiracy or truth. This is dangerous. This is very different from catching a police officer on video abusing power, like beating or shooting a person of minority. One such dingleberry I found in my research through Twitter. Boy, that sounds nuts coming out of my mouth. His name is Tom Bennett. As one Twitter user posted, Tom Bennett's coronavirus video was taken down by YouTube, which I find mysterious since the video is on YouTube. Go figure. In the video, Bennett, a douche of Trump proportion, tells the viewer that a virus is by definition, quote-unquote, not a living thing, and that you, quote, cannot catch a virus. And as a side note, what I thought was interesting is they're saying that YouTube took this down because he got so many views within like a 48-hour window. The first thing I noticed is his video has an abundance of copyrighted material used to try and coax a cheap laugh. Could that be why his video was taken down? Or maybe is it simply on the basis of harmful disinformation? I don't know. So, always up for a simple challenge that one can solve with Google in about 30 seconds. I looked up specifically what a virus is. I found the college textbook titled Molecular Cell Biology, 4th edition, which states that, quote, a virus is a small parasite that cannot reproduce itself. Once it infects a susceptible cell, however, a virus can direct the cell machinery to produce more viruses. Most viruses have either RNA or DNA as their genetic material. The book goes on to talk about the researcher Wendell Stanley. In 1935, he crystallized the tobacco mosaic virus. They said, quote, it was considered very surprising at the time that a replicating organism could be crystallized. Organism. So what I wonder is, has anyone who takes this man's or any other man's words as gospel even tried to look up this man's background? I tried, and I could find no data on him on the internet. You would think that someone who accomplished as much as he claims to have had, which I'll get to in a moment, would have a lecture or some research papers out there. But nothing. Here's my theory about Tom Bennett. Maybe he has a form of delusional schizophrenia. Maybe there are dozens of people out there spinning conspiracy theories that get posted on the internet who are delusional schizophrenics. Just stay with me. I've worked personally with enough schizophrenics to know that one of the symptoms you see is delusions of grandeur. With that being said, here are some of Tom Bennett's claims. I think I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do my best Australian accent so you can really get a feel for who Tom is. So in the beginning of his video, he says, to give himself some credibility, I could read and write before I went to school. I knew my 1 to 12 times table before other kids could even open a book. I won academic scholarships to 2 expensive private schools. I did, keep in mind he said did, I did 6 years of science, which included medicine. I did 6 years of natural health in medicine. I spent 3 years solely looking into the nature of viruses, bacteria, and etc. As a practitioner, I treated myself and a number of other people. He goes on, but just fascinating bullshit. Seems like bullshit. I mean, even I treated myself and a number of other people. That number could be 2. And who knows what the hell will happen with them. And how do you do science and medicine? I wonder. There's a reason we have colleges and universities, people. Now, others who are more local or in other states simply drive by their local hospital and film the ER department entry, like, the parking lot and the entry. Some actually walk inside. So these people go by. If they see no cars or ambulances filling the parking lot or in a constant loop, they assume it's a hoax. Is it possible, people, that 1, you live in a county or city that has low numbers thus far, or 2, that everyone is properly socially isolating and staying home, so that's why you don't see people? For example, a local neighboring county in Florida yesterday, April 4th, reported 28 new cases, bringing the total to 129. This was reported by the Bradenton Herald. Their hospitalizations went from 22 people to 28 people. So far in this county, only 2 people have died. But I watched a video where, basically the hospital was filmed and the user said, look, there's nobody here. What's up with that? Conversely, New York now has reported, and I probably need to update these numbers. I think I found them 2 days ago. And at that time, it was 102,863 cases, 57,159 who live in New York City. The reported deaths in New York are now 2,935. More than 14,000 people are reported as currently being hospitalized in New York as of April 3rd. That was reported by The Independent. Also, in New York City, there are Twitter users. What's up with Twitter? Maybe President Trump lent this validity to Twitter that just became a magnet for stupidity. Anyways, there are Twitter users in New York City that are also posting these empty hospital videos. I watched several. And one was a guy interviewing a EMT, a paramedic who looked like he's probably on his break standing next to the ambulance. And this guy's going, hey, how many people have you seen with coronavirus? And he was like, I don't know, 2? 2, huh? Mighty peculiar. I found a great video on YouTube debunking these assumptions a lot of people are making by a user called Bo of the Fifth Column. It's titled, Let's Talk About Why the Hospitals Are Empty. Bo makes a lot of great points. Yeah, that just made me think of Bonos. Does anyone remember Bonos? Exactly. My wife's shaking her head. You have to be old to know what Bonos means. So one of the points that he makes that's very valid is that all other services at the hospital have ceased. I mean, excluding actual emergencies, heart attacks, things of that nature, someone chops off a finger. People still go to the ER for that, but all other functions within the hospital have stopped. So of course you're not going to see citizens, pedestrians, whatever you want to call them, walking in and out. Lots of cars in the parking lot. Anyways, I would just say go watch the guy's video for yourself, because I got a lot to talk about. Obviously, this stuff is systemic. I mean, it's been a problem for a long time. And by the way, don't get me wrong, I like a good conspiracy theory. That actually brings me to a big point that I wanted to make, which is that the American people and people all over the world have been lied to by their leaders for a really long time, for decades, probably thousands of years. But especially here in the U.S., we know that our government pushes bills without us even knowing about it. Clandestine, secret operations abroad by the CIA. It's a really interesting book out there, actually, if you're into that sort of thing, called Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins. He was the economic hitman, which was essentially a negotiator who went to meet with the leader of the other country to convince them to accept loans from World Bank or the IMF, with interest rates, of course, that compounded would essentially make this country default, which, according to John Perkins, was part of the way that the U.S. and the financial elite would exercise power over other countries, and then put things like Coca-Cola factories in their country. But I digress. The point was, I enjoy a conspiracy theory, but I like facts even more. Facts that can be corroborated, cross-checked. Those I'm gonna go with those, because let's face it, one of the dangers of the internet right now is that anybody can put anything up without anyone checking it. Seems pretty dangerous. So, one source I found peddling similar garbage is an extreme right-friendly website called radio.com. Sounds harmless, right? They did a piece on how CBS pushed a false narrative by showing pictures from Italy when discussing New York City. Basically, they didn't have a shot inside of the New York hospital, but that's irrelevant here. So when I went on this site to look at this article, it didn't take long for me to realize what I was dealing with when I saw Glenn Beck's face in the right-hand column, stating he was, quote, on air now. Ugh. However, after seeing that, I decided I should dig a little deeper, just to be sure and not make an assumption. I looked up the author of the article, Jeff Katz, and I found a Huffington Post article explaining that he had been fired from his job at a radio station called WBT in Charlotte, North Carolina. Apparently, he made a criticism of NFL coach Andy Reid about not having enough quote-unquote discipline with his team. Citing an example of it, he said, quote, it did not work out particularly well in his family life, referring to Reid's dead son, who died of a drug overdose in 2012. Of course, after that statement, social media exploded in retribution, and the guy was canned. Was it fair? I don't know. Was it dick? Absolutely. Clearly, Katz did not have the discipline to refrain from saying such a thing, or lacked the creativity to conjure a better analogy. But still not convinced enough that I didn't like the guy. I did some more research and discovered he has a history of espouting things that I simply don't believe. Let's leave it at that. Another part of the conspiracy that I stumbled upon researching all this stuff was that people cite a U.S. amendment called the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act of 2012, also known as H.R. 5736. I definitely encourage people to look this bill up for themselves. The claim is that the bill was passed largely in secret to give the U.S. government control over all media production in the U.S. and abroad. This means the government controls Hollywood and every media outlet, including social media websites in the U.S. So even when I make a post on Facebook that says, fucking fuck the government, I don't know, it doesn't get taken down. Nothing happens. So I wonder what that's all about. Anyways, the proponents of this conspiracy claim that because the bill was passed only months before the shootings in Sandy Hook, that clearly the two are connected. For anyone who's not familiar with what the Sandy Hook conspiracy is, it's that this theory submits that the grieving parents and children killed were state actors who were relocated and given new identities. So I did some more digging. I really didn't feel like watching Sandy Hook conspiracy videos, but what I did find was an interesting article. It was about one of the parents. His name's Lenny Posner, Pozner. He had a 6-year-old son, and he explained exactly what conspiracy theorists do, because he's had run-ins with some of these people in his home state. I believe it actually said he moved because he couldn't stand people bothering him, and he moved somewhere else, and guy in the convenience store said, he said he looked at his ID, and the guy noticed that it said Sandy Hook on his ID, and he went, you know that's fake, right? Having no idea who this guy was. But Lenny summed it up beautifully in this statement. He said, conspiracy theorists erase the human aspect of history. So this is the point I've been leading to. Many of our world's biggest problems are complex issues with layer after layer that explain why a tragedy occurred. In my opinion, conspiracy theories are an easy answer to difficult questions. That being said, I have reason to believe that our government and media lie to us, keep things from us, and bend truths all the time. Take the Gulf of Tonkin incident in Vietnam, perhaps the most notorious false flag operation ever executed. However, I am certain there have been others. It's just too unlikely that our covert government has never committed operations that were meant to mislead the American public about a foreign power. With that also being said, when dozens of people are reported dead, have some fucking empathy. Forget about your narcissistic, neurotic tendencies for one moment and think about how the family or friends of the people who died feel. Give them some fucking peace and space to grieve in. Okay, I think I've yelled into the mic enough. Now to bring some levity to this topic, I have my brother Chris on the line. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm laying low, staying home, playing with cats.
How many cats are you up to now?
1, 2, 5 inside. Outside, I lost count.
You have officially become a cat herder.
Yeah. They bring us mice almost every day now. Dead.
Do you get lizard heads?
We get lizard everything. Torso, head, leg.
I've had a couple of heads delivered to me before, but never gotten like just a torso.
It's very flattering.
So I think when I got you on the line, you were saying that you went ahead and watched some planned Dimick videos.
Yeah, I'd never heard the term, so, just the first few posts I saw and checked out. It's funny, it's the type of person that you expect is exactly what I got.
Did you watch the Australian guy, the video I sent you?
Yeah. What? He's hard to understand because he's saying he had 10 plus years of schooling in science.
Well,
he doesn't talk about practicing anything.
At some point, he does say, I was a practitioner, and he says, I treated myself and a number of others.
Yeah.
But what I found really interesting was, because I was trying to really hear the credit that he was trying to give himself, so I backed it up. And I went statement by statement. And once I did that, I was like, he's not fucking saying anything. So statement number 1 was, I could read and write before I went to school.
Oh, I loved that part. He was like, my mother told me when I was very small, I was the smartest boy.
His next statement was, I knew my 1 to 12 times table before other kids could even open a book.
Yeah, those were weird things to throw into the resume.
Frankly, the things he says remind me of Trump. Like, well, I had an uncle who was a doctor, so, I know a lot. So he goes on to say, the third statement, I won academic scholarships to 2 expensive private schools.
Yeah.
Now, the next 2 really I found interesting. He said, I did 6 years of science which included medicine. And then he said, I did 6 years of natural health and medicine.
Yeah.
I heard that and I went...
he could be describing that he was hanging out at Barnes & Noble reading books that he didn't buy for 6 years.
Or
I did the science.
Or he watched 5 years worth of YouTube videos on science and medicine.
That's probably more likely.
But like the argument that I was making earlier in the podcast was, if this dude has the kind of accomplishments that he's trying to say he has, then why isn't there at least one lecture or research paper or anything? Because I tried to look him up. The most I could find is there's a doctor named Tom Bennett in Australia.
Huh.
I'm assuming he's Australian. It could be a New Zealander. I kind of get those accents confused.
He seems more Australian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it the tank top? Was he wearing a tank top or a V-neck?
He's wearing just a tee in the one I saw.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm judgmental of people in tank tops and V-necks.
I think the long beard and the tank top together is a serious problem.
So, I wanted to ask you about another thing that is part of the conspiracy theory, because I like to really flesh these things out and like try to find out, okay, what is like the root cause or reason why people say something's happening. And what I came across is people talking about a bill that was passed in the U.S. called the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act.
When was this?
It was passed in 2012.
Okay.
Basically, what the bill did was, I went and read it because, I'm not going to take a fucking YouTuber's word for what's actually going on. I'm going to go look it up. So when I read this bill, it basically, the way I interpreted the words, now I had a discussion with somebody who said, well, that's not how I interpret it. I went, fine. But the way I interpreted the words is that it allows our government to police what other countries, what other foreign powers are releasing as far as media content, I guess like propaganda, and that they can have influence on this stuff.
We could influence what they release to their own public?
Honestly, I don't know. When I read legalese or bills, I mean, I could look it up right now.
Yeah, it's like reading Latin.
Right. It's like intentionally so we don't know what the hell we're reading.
Yeah, the whole pandemic thing, these people just seem, the root of their theories always goes back to just total distrust of the government.
Yeah.
Which I totally get.
Right.
You got to rein it in.
You got to control.
I mean, we've never been in a time where someone can save up some money, get some mics, put a couple computers around them in their man cave, and feel like they're a celebrity and have a show and are proud of however many followers they have, and they're giving these credentials and saying you can trust me.
You reminded me of something. Yeah. For one, like anyone who says, I've done this and I've done this, okay, use the power of the internet to look up to see if this person really did the shit they're saying they did and that they have any credibility. So what I was going to say is you reminded me, I watched a YouTube video that tipped me off to this this bill that passed through the House. And what's really funny is the lady that made the video was saying that like she was a Sandy Hook believer too, and she was saying that all the people who made videos that exposed all of the truths and the inconsistencies in that stuff were taken down by YouTube. But I'm watching this lady's video, and all of a sudden a light goes off of my head, and I think, oh, let me see how long her video's been up. And that shit was on YouTube for 7 years. So,
they're not doing a great job.
Right. If they're policing this, they're fucking up.
Well, you sent me the Australian bloke.
Right.
And I was able to watch the whole thing, and you said he'd been removed quite a while ago.
But it's on YouTube. I know. So here's what I noticed about that, though. And you watched it, so you noticed that he appropriated a lot of copyrighted material that he put in the video, right?
Oh, yeah, a lot.
So, I mean,
he's quite a comedian.
Maybe that's got something to do with it?
Right.
Or it's just the fact that he's spreading harmful rhetoric. So I'm looking at the bill right now. There's a bunch of hither, there, and come hither.
Street talk.
Yes, yeah. Street slang.
Yeah.
So one thing about this is in its amendment to the Information and Educational Exchange Act that was passed in 1948. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so maybe there was some updating that needed to happen.
Yeah, every 80 years or so.
It goes on to say the Secretary and the Broadcasting Board of Governors are authorized to use funds appropriated or otherwise made available for public diplomacy information programs to provide for the preparation, dissemination, and use of information intended for foreign audiences abroad about the United States, its people, and its policies through press, publications, radio, motion pictures, the internet, and other information media, including social media, and through information centers, instructors, and other direct and indirect means of communication. So how do you interpret that?
No clue.
Yeah.
I zoned off after the first 4 words.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just don't see how, like, what you get from that is they are controlling all the media we see basically all the time. I mean, don't get me wrong. I do think that there are influencers who are linked to our government who are like, I think now's a good time for a World War II movie or, some shit like that.
Yeah.
And there's probably like, FBI or CIA agents who take to Facebook and Twitter, probably. But
Sure.
do I think that there's just no free thinkers like releasing content and it's all controlled and it's all under the same umbrella? That sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, Hollywood does have a lot of filters stuff's going to go through.
You reminded me of a story I read, or actually it might have been. Oh, I was watching a Paul Rudd interview, which, by the way, today's his 51st birthday.
Yikes!
Yeah, but the guy looks like he's 38 or something,
Yeah, I just said yikes because of the everyone I know over 45, I'm worried about, or 40, I don't know. He doesn't seem like a smoker though, so that's good.
Well, he seems like a type of smoker, but yeah, not a cigarette smoker. But yeah, he was saying that when Will Ferrell first pitched Anchorman, that the plot more closely resembled the plot of that movie Alive. That like all the journalists were on a plane that then crashes somewhere like in the snowy mountains.
Mm-hmm.
Or in some remote place, and they like go all Lord of the Flies on each other. And he said that the studio was like, "Yeah, that's not going to happen."
Interesting. That sounds hilarious.
It sounds pretty funny. I smell a trilogy.
Yeah, that's funny that they shot that down, but when it was a little more less policed, they made the actual Alive movie. For the second time,
The second?
They originally made a movie about those guys, like late 70s or early 80s. So the Ethan Hawke version is a remake.
Oh, I didn't know.
And then they shoot down a comedy satire of it. That's funny.
Yeah.
Although I would imagine Paul Rudd and Will Ferrell probably had some pretty sick jokes in there. Finding a bottle of wine in the luggage and being like, this is going to go great with so-and-so.
So that kind of made me think of an interesting point that all of this stuff brings to mind for me. And that, a lot of these people claim that they get taken down because they're exposing truths. But my view of it is they're probably getting taken down because it's fucking offensive to the people that actually went through this shit.
Oh, you mean like Sandy Hook?
Well, or any shooting, or like let's consider someone who's already lost a loved one to COVID-19.
Yeah, and to have that wanker saying you can't catch it.
You're right. I don't know who makes this stuff up. I mean, how do you catch a virus if you're not running after it? You know what I mean? It's not a dingo.
Yeah, I did not understand.
Well, I think referring to something as an organism is good enough to say it's living. But,
sure.
Tom Bennett, if you're listening, prove me wrong, buddy. Prove me wrong. So what I was also going to say is that it seems like a lot of the people that will post shit like this are also they have this narrative about the PC police that like, oh, there's too much fucking political correctness. Everybody's trying to be politically correct. I was wondering.
Yeah, that doesn't apply to him because his biggest flaw is that he's telling anyone who sees that they can't catch it through all of the ways that we know you can catch it. He's saying you can't. It's impossible to catch it. So I'm not sure how he's describing that. How many hundreds of thousands of people have it.
Yeah.
I didn't finish his video. Does he go on to then say that it was created on purpose?
Oh, I could only make it. I only made it about 2 minutes before I said, I've had enough of this.
Yeah. It's a long video. I probably did 10 to 15 minutes. Weird stuff.
But I was wondering, what do you think about political correctness? Should we be making more of an effort to, watch the words we use?
I was just watching Tom Segura's latest stand-up special he did in, I think, Austin, Texas. And I couldn't put my finger on it, halfway through. Why is this different than the other maybe 4 specials I've seen by him over the years?
Yeah.
That were funnier and more just about storytelling. And I figured it out by the end. And I think I've seen Bill Burr have to go through this. A lot of comedians are spending so much of their set explaining why their punchlines are okay. They're having to explain that comedy is still okay.
Wow.
They have to justify their punchlines. It's interesting, but they kind of have to if that's their style of writing. They're not going to change their style of writing, but now they have to explain it. So half the set, they can make it funny, but they're definitely all having to do that to an extent.
Wow. I didn't know Bill Burr was doing that because, I've watched his specials. I thought he just says whatever the fuck he wants.
He does. I mean, he's easier to watch explain it. And he actually can do it in a way that's kind of genius.
Like pokes fun at it?
Yeah, just tells you why it's funny, and if you don't think so, this is why you're wrong. And by the end of it, I would think, anyone that's still butthurt, you just can't fix those people. But I've seen a lot of comedians do that, and it just occurred to me a day or two ago, oh, that's what I'm witnessing here on the Tom Segura set is, he was talking about hundreds of thousands of letters, emails, tweets, comments that he gets after
a
all
show?
Of these big, yeah.
Man, I don't think I could handle that.
Well, he said how he does it is now he just doesn't read anything.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Fan mail or complaints? I don't know. Fuck it.
Yeah, skip it all.
I highly recommend, if you haven't seen it yet, watch the Dave Chappelle special on him getting the Mark Twain Award.
Yeah.
It's good. Some good speeches. Like Jon Stewart's bit is great.
Really?
What I think is great about Dave Chappelle is he champions that idea that in comedy you should be able to say whatever the hell you want to say and not have a repercussion.
Yeah, you know what? His comeback specials, he definitely addressed that right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that is a new phenomenon. They tell and I feel like they're even writing more kind of in-your-face punchlines to drive the point home. To have everyone in the theater gasp and then go, what is wrong with you? This is what's wrong with you, and then explain it to us.
Did you come here to laugh and be entertained?
But yeah, I feel like, another thing that comedians are saying now is, my jokes are going to be like this. If you're gasping, who brought you here?
Right. Why did you come here?
You could go see the guy with puppets or, Larry the Cable Guy or someone.
That was beautiful. The guy with the puppets. I mean,
Dunham.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think he's funny? Because I don't.
If I've seen him perform, it's probably a total over the years of maybe 60 seconds.
Right. Or being at one of our relatives' house.
I know he does have a terrorist puppet in a turban.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how that's flying under the radar. But I guess his audience probably that's perfect for his audience.
I remember what you're talking about, and I think that particular puppet is a skeleton, like it's a dead terrorist.
That's the only kind of good terrorist. Dead.
Now I need to look this dude up, Jeff Dunham, because I'm kind of curious. Did he retire this particular puppet? Oh, doesn't.
I don't know.
So that puppet is named Ahmed the Dead Terrorist.
Wow. There you go.
I guess I could say in his defense, it looks like he balances out his ability to make fun of people by having what looks like a redneck puppet named Bubba J.
Yeah. I think the guy is pretty clever.
And he has...
But like I said, I've seen 60 seconds of him speaking.
He has what I assume is like a Central American Mexican puppet named Jose Jalapeno on a stick.
Oh, no. That's funny. Jose Jalapeno. Wow. That is rich.
Well,
I started a documentary last night. I think it's called After Truth. It's about disinformation.
Yeah.
And how it makes people do crazy things, like go shoot up a restaurant.
Right.
And very interesting.
I need to watch that.
Finish it tonight. Yeah, it was on Netflix.
I mean, yeah. What if all this stuff that's being pushed right now by these people on like Twitter and YouTube drives some fucking heavily armed person to well, fuck it, I'm not gonna let them turn this into a police state. I'm making the first move.
The pandemic thing, almost everything I saw brought up martial law. They're all saying the same thing, One guy hears the Australian guy speak and he's like, you know what, I want to do the same thing this guy's doing. And he just says what he said, Well, but everyone is definitely mentioning martial law, and I guess that's why everyone's buying up ammo.
What I find interesting about these theories is I remember a lot of them from like the past decade that had a little bit of a timeline, like, well, this is going to happen this year. One of those things was like the planet Nibiru, however you say that like is the lost planet of our solar system. And the reason we don't see it is it's on this elliptical orbit that swings way out and it only comes by Earth like every 2,000 some odd years. And this was back in like 2011 or 12.
Is this a real thing?
Oh, no, the planet's not proven. I thought you meant
somehow
is the conspiracy theory real? Yes.
Yeah.
So what they were saying was that this planet is due to come by Earth like this year. And when it does, you're going to see massive amount of volcanoes erupting and we'll have earthquakes and it could be the end of the world. And not to mention that the 2012, like the end of the Mayan calendar bullshit happened.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
So it's just interesting to me that like these things will pass and then I'm standing there thinking, well, what happened to that thing? But by that time, like a lot of people have moved on to the next thing. And they're like, oh, well, I can't think of how it's explained away.
The fact that they're giving dates for these things that are right around the corner, that just makes me think they're in the short term, just trying to sell something, whether it's a book or trying to get paid by advertisement because you've got so many clicks because it's a fear-based thing. I don't know.
And that's a thought I had about the Australian guy was that the description right beneath his video was, YouTube took this down as soon as I got 300,000 views in 48 hours. And I thought, oh, that's a fucking great marketing ploy.
Right. And there's no way for us to look into it to see if that is true timeline-wise or if he had that many followers, right? I mean, can we disprove that? Or, is that just a comment he can make to make himself sound legitimate that we can't disprove?
Right. It's like I explained to a few conspiracy theorists I've known in my day. I have much better things to do with my time than try to research these theories, which at the end of the day, I can't have an effect on or change. So I'm going to focus on growing my career, trying to increase my income and see my friends and family and play some music in between instead of staying up until 4 a.m. fucking scouring YouTube. Because I've fallen down a couple of those rabbit holes on YouTube before. Have you ever watched like some of the strange happening videos or like monster videos?
No. Monsters?
It's a hoot.
This is on YouTube.
Yeah.
Wow.
So like,
What are we talking Bigfoot or
all of the above, man.
werewolves? They got some werewolf stuff?
I can't say that I've seen a werewolf. I did see a mer person or two.
Mer person?
Yeah.
Is that a half fish?
Right.
Oh, how did I know that?
It's merman.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Duh. Wow. Mer people.
You know, like one of the first things that occurred to me was we have incredible software now that can do amazing things. Like, I don't know if you've watched any deepfake videos yet.
I did. The first one I saw was the Full House one. Then I saw Robert Downey Jr. put into Back to the Future. Did you see that?
No.
What's the actor that plays the professor?
Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd. They put Robert Downey Jr.'s face over Christopher Lloyd. And they've got him saying the lines. Like, I don't know how.
Wow.
Pretty incredible.
Do yourself a favor and look up Jim Carrey deepfakes. There's like one I really enjoyed was Jim Carrey in Jack Nicholson's role in The Shining.
Oh.
And it's like the scene where he starts going up the staircase after the wife.
Yeah.
It's creepy. You know, just to drive that home, like, so let's see, this is 2020. I would say like 7 years ago, my wife Julia, she showed me a video showing me what digital animation could do. But when she showed me the video, I didn't know that it was digital. And she showed me like a grassy field with grass that was like a foot tall and trees all surrounding this this meadow with wind blowing through it, right? And I saw all these blades of grass move and the leaves and everything. And then she says, all of that's digital. And I went, fuck, whoa. That's an insane amount of detail.
Yeah.
So, like, bearing that in mind, you don't think somebody could doctor a video of black and white? Like, a lot of these things will be like night vision, or they'll have that look to them. So it's very dark, and you're just seeing some light on the movement.
And this is the monster genre.
Yeah.
You're talking about.
Well,
yeah.
So there's like a lot of compilations out there. One of them I remember I was definitely saying, like, this is for sure a person in a suit. And it almost reminded me of like those, I'm not going to remember which Asian culture, but like they would wear like the big head that had sort of a dragon monster face to it. Maybe they had some stilts under their feet.
Like in a parade.
Yeah, this thing that looked like that, and there was like maybe a dubbed in, or maybe it was the person inside the suit like screaming like a ah, and two people just running from it like they were terrified. And
that video was supposed to be
proof that monsters exist.
You know, when CGI was in its infancy, we were pretty young, and I thought, well, this will never trick my eyes. And as it got to be stronger and stronger, like one of the first I was impressed with was Jurassic Park, and then Lord of the Flies had some good, or Lord of the Rings had some good stuff in it. But I still was confident, like, as good as it gets, maybe it's like an intuition or something. I thought you can't trick my eyes. I'll never not know. But to have Robert Downey's face saying the lines that I assume he's never said. This is not footage of him that they then put over Christopher Lloyd. Like, I think that they're, through programming, able to do that, and it really tricks you.
Did they leave Christopher Lloyd's voice in it, or do an overdub?
I want to say it's Christopher Lloyd's voice.
I'm looking at the thumbnail right now. That is nuts.
It's bizarre.
Oh, and Tom Holland is in Michael J. Fox's spot. He's the guy who played SpiderMan most recently.
Ah, okay. That's like the fifth SpiderMan actor in 10 years, 20 years?
I want to say he's the third.
Oh, I thought there was at least four.
I don't know. That didn't look... Oh, man, Dude, that is really good.
Isn't that weird?
I mean, I don't even see the face moving.
Yeah, it's troubling, you know.
Yeah.
In this time when it seems like America's headed towards fascism and propaganda is so important for that transition,
Yeah.
to be able to do this deep fake stuff, kind of creepy, kind of
Oh
scary.
yeah, because as soon as governments decide, like, yeah, we're going to use this to doctor some video that shows, I don't know, American soldiers doing something that sparks outrage, or
Well, maybe on the other side, on the left side, you know, maybe there's going to be ways that people can stay up all night with their other leftist buddies and disprove stuff when it comes out and say, oh, all you guys got enraged about this and it's CGI or it's deep fake or whatever. There could become a point where if you don't know the source, you don't know who's making the fake footage, you might not be able to disprove it. It's so good. That could be something down the road.
I think I've heard that people have worked on software to actually detect a deep fake. Like you could run the video through this software and it'll detect it.
You would think that that's always going to be possible. Yeah. The thing is, though, you do disprove something like that that's been running through the 24-hour news cycle, and it's a weird human reaction to stuff like that. But people can be convinced by it, and it so aligns with what they were already thinking that even when it comes out that it's disproved, they can say, well, I don't care. It already made me feel this way, or oh, well, the people that disproves it, that's fake news. So even if people come out and say this is 100% fake, a lot of people are still going to stay latched onto it and say, well, I don't care. I believe it.
Yeah, like...
because it makes me feel good.
Trumpers,
Bible thumpers.
I've heard plenty of his supporters interviewed at rallies say, well, I don't care what the media says. I'm going to believe what comes from him. It's like,
right.
No!
When did the switch flip on these people? Or, I mean, you know, a lot of these people were never politically engaged before because, you know, maybe the left and the right were just saying things that were boring to them. You know, he's coming out and saying, if Korea messes with me again, we'll just blow them up. And they're like, hell yeah. Now, this is some fun shit. You know what I mean? These people,
I like this
40,
guy.
They could be 70 years old, never voted before. Now they're totally engaged. They're going to rallies. His rallies look like a scary fucking circus. Like, I wouldn't go to one just undercover just to see, like, how it feels. Because I would feel like, without me saying or doing anything weird, just the look on my face would give me away, and I would be lynched.
Oh,
you know?
Speaking of that, you should check out John Oliver's latest episode. He talks about this new network that seems even crazier than Fox News as far as...
This is America-based?
Yeah, and they've been going to White House press briefings. You know, he played some of the questions that these people ask. They're just sitting the T-ball on the cone.
Right.
Basically summing up the talking points for his side and going, so what do you think about that?
Right. Yeah, to give him a chance to say what he wants. He wants to hit that T-ball. You need to find out something about that new news outlet. Who created it? Who's behind it? Because, you know, I could see people in his camp getting together and saying, you know what? What's so problematic about these press conferences is all these people that we're calling fake news that are actually real news that keep asking us hard questions that make us look like monsters. We need a room full of
cheerleaders.
Super right cheerleading, fake Fox 2.0, Fox 3.0, so he can just throw out his sound bites and say ridiculous, weird things.
It's like Fox on steroids, if those steroids killed brain cells.
Yeah.
Man, I don't remember the main reporter's guy, but he's basically like, he's their equivalent to a Bill O'Reilly or a Sean Hannity. And he has like a catchphrase at the end that is, even when I'm wrong, I'm right.
Oh, that's good. Wow.
John Oliver played one segment where he was trying to explain his own talking point, and he was just fumbling so badly for words. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, he's got just a handful. He's got tremendous is like number one word he says, and then he's got 5 or 6 more, but they're super basic.
Oh yeah,
he
yeah.
would be
Incredible.
He'd be horrible at Scrabble.
Well, this was not the president. This was the guy on this news network. But
Oh, I see.
I see how they seem like Siamese twins separated at birth.
Ooh.
Joined at the head. He took half my brain. It's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, this guy sounded like a second grader trying to give a book report who hadn't read the book, searching for words, you know?
Yeah.
It was great. Which I heard another kitty.
Oh, that's Sonny again.
Hi, Sonny. Well, I think we digressed and talked a lot about comedy shows and deep fakes. Thanks for participating, bro.
It was fun. It's nice to have this since we're locked in.
Right.
I feel like a doomsday prepper.
Not even close, man. Call me when you have 6 assault rifles and an underground bunker.
That's going to be the tough one, just digging the hole.
Right.
Well, yeah, it was great to be a part of this, man. Call me. Like I said, I'll be here with the cats.
Cool, man. I'll give you a ring.
I'll watch a lot more of the conspiracy theorists.
I would advise you don't watch too much as it will rot your brain.
All right, brother.
man. Take care.
You too.
Love you, man.
Love
Bye.
you. Bye.
That concludes episode number 2 of Into the Foxhole. Again, I'm your host, Jeff Fox. Today I had on my brother, Chris. For the next episode, I'm going to have on a truly great guy, a friend of mine. His name is Chris Barrows. He was the lead singer and about 50% songwriting for the legendary Tampa punk rock band Pink Lincolns. And he's just released his first book. He's published his first book. So Chris is going to come on and talk about that and give us some tasty little tidbits from punk rock history. We'll see you then. Bye.